What food is only good eaten in small quantities? Truffles are definitely on that list, any of the multiple varieties of Wagyu beef too. I used to work at a butcher's that sold a couple of kinds and people would always come buy 1-inch thick steaks. I can tell you from eating it fairly often, you want a 4 ounces serving at the most, and it's best either done as a filet mignon, 1 1/4 thick and rare but small, or very thinly sliced and seared over extremely high heat, maybe 30 seconds total. Chocolate. I cannot eat a whole chocolate cake. For instance, maybe a few bites and a glass of milk. I was in Belgium where there's chocolate shops everywhere, especially in Bruges. I thought it would be heaven, but I grew tired of it after a few visits here and there, but I would pick up a Liege waffle any chance I could find them. Country pork pudding. When I was a kid I loved the stuff and loved eating it when the fire hall would have their butchering and my mother and I would help. I was stupid and ate a whole pan of it and ended up throwing it up. The worst, most god-awful taste I've ever had, the misery of tasting, and haven't been able to eat it ever since. If you're ever in Baltimore, Maryland, go to a grocery store and get yourself some burger cookies. Oh my lord. They are basically vanilla cookies and dipped in rich chocolate fudge. They are a tad expensive, but, man, are they worth it. They come 8 to a pack and I've never been able to eat more than 2 at a time. Anchovies. A favorite dish in our house is anchovy pasta, cooked spaghetti, then drain and add a bit of melted butter, minced garlic, parmesan, and 2 tins of anchovies diced. But I made the mistake of eating a whole anchovy once while cooking, and man, won't do that again. Even the completed dish is only a side dish, not meant to be a meal. Sugary soda. In general, I stick to water and diet drinks with maybe 1 sugary soda every couple weeks. I'm not even a health nut. I used to drink them daily as a teen, but I stopped doing that in early adulthood. Drinking regular soda in excess just makes me feel terrible, both mentally and physically. The chicken salad we sell at my deli job. We make it fresh from leftover rotisserie chickens, and a bite here and there hits the spot, but there's just so much mayonnaise that a full serving leaves me full. People come in and stockpile it since we usually sell out pretty early, but I'll never know how they can eat so much in a matter of a few days. Cheesecake. I ate cheesecake in a large quantity once. I thought I could finish it, but I got really full after about half of it, but I didn't want to bring it downstairs. I was lazy, so I just tried to push through it, and lo and behold, I made it, but I couldn't look at cheesecake the same again for about 2 years because I literally felt gross eating it. All I got today is, if you like cheesecake, don't eat a lot of it. Hot peppers. An excellent addition to many foods, but too much and the meal is ruined. My coworker once asked if he could use my 357 sauce and I said sure, but be very sparing with it. He poured it over his food like Tabasco and learned a very important lesson in moderation. Came to me red-faced with snot and tears pouring out and simply said, "You bastard." I said, "Told you so." Finding progressively hotter sauces to give each other to try became a thing between us for a few months. Baklava. Turkish dessert. This dessert come in different variety, shapes and ingredients, but they have one thing in common. They are extremely sweet. I do really like baklava but can't eat more than 2. I am not diabetic, but it feels like a sugar overdose and I am out for the day. Oysters. Hear my story. I was a Canadian adolescent on vacation in the far and exotic land of Florida. I was a bit of a foodie back then, but I have gotten over that. Now Florida was the place to get seafood. So I was stuffing my hungry young fish hole with all the deep-fried goodies I could find, black and grouper samikas, scallops and fries, deep-fried snapper and chips. We were visiting with a local friend who made a massive bouillabaisse containing crabs and everything including Neptune beer, just chips. I ate a lot. We went out one night to a fancy seafood house. The one thing that I had never tried but had heard so much about was oysters. Well, bugger me, but oyster cocktail was on the menu, so I ordered. Now, as I write this, I am 45 years older, a chef with a career of working in restaurants under my belt. I am here to tell you that they do not shell a bunch of fresh oysters and lovingly, carefully, respectfully place them in a cocktail server. No. They just dumped a half pint of the slimy buggers out of carton that was sitting in the back of a fridge for a few days into a fancy server and called it today. I ate the whole thing. Well, ate is a relative term. I swallowed them and they ended up in my tummy. At first I was okay with them, but I didn't get the attraction. Maybe they got better further down. Well, long story short, by the time I got to the bottom I had consumed all the oysters that would want for the rest of my life. Was it fishy snot? Was it snotty fish? All I knew was that it was way gross and I was done. Don't ask me about my feelings about my sushi experience years later. I used to be into making and trying weird recipes. I still am, but I used to be, too, and one day, I stumbled across a recipe for Nutella eggnog. It was some ungodly recipe that involved making regular eggnog and then blending like 2 cups of Nutella into the alcohol before gently mixing the two together into a slurry. There's video proof of me drinking something like 2,000 calories in 1/8-ounce glass and laughing at how ridiculously rich it was. It made fudge feel like a nice refreshing snack. The recipe made about 24 ounces. And the people around me said it was too rich for them after the first oz or so. But I love eggnog, and I hate throwing food away. I finished the entire pitcher in one afternoon. I'm pretty sure my eyeballs were vibrating at some point, and I've never made it again. But I still think about it sometimes. Bacon-wrapped scallops. I once bought some from a big store like Costco. There were 20 in the box, so I cooked them 'cause I love scallops, but I ate all of them. I felt so sick. I have no clue how I didn't vomit, but man, I felt like absolute shit for a couple days. It took me over 5 years to eat another scallop again. Everything in moderation. Chicharrones, hands down. For those that don't know, they're freshly seasoned and fried pig skin, basically pork rinds, but they're fresh from the fryer and have a shit ton of greasy pig fat attached to them. They're goddamn delicious. They're also a very quick way to make yourself sick. You're basically eating pure pig fat, and more than a handful of them can make you nauseated unless you've got a cast iron stomach. In HS I brought salt and vinegar chips when it was my turn in a snack rotation we had going for homeroom. There was this dude Dalvin who was pretty quiet. I got to watch him discover and basically fall in love with S&V chips. Dude asked where I got them and he brought them when it was his turn on the snack rotation. He was quiet. So these chips are what I'd goof around with him about. Alvin, you got the chips. Was a sort of an inside joke. I don't see Alvin after graduation, like 15 years ago, until yesterday, and I shit you not, for was eating a bag of S&V chips in his car. In college I found a cheap place to buy bulk espresso coffee beans, and I passed them around my studio late at night when we were pushing deadlines. Most of us would eat like 5-10 beans and move on. This one girl had 2 fistfuls in 5 minutes. I think we could hear her heartbeat just sitting next to her. On a church trip the doctor that went with us offered us some town candies. I was the first to try it, got all excited and told everyone to grab a piece, because it tasted like crude beer. After everyone grabbed a bit and was sucking on it, the doctor confirmed it's candied sassafras root. Then all 30 of us noticed the numbing effect of sassafras root. For 20 minutes our mouths were numb and we were drooling and talking like idiots. Great fun. When I was 4 or 5 years old, I told my babysitter I was hungry. My babysitter was a 14-year-old Hispanic girl who came from a well-off family that believed that food equals love. She proceeded to cook me an entire pound of bacon and told me, "Eat to your heart's content." I assumed she figured I would eat a few pieces and get full like most little kids. But this was my first experience with bacon. I ate the whole pound. She was terrified to tell anyone what happened because that much bacon is surely not a good thing, right? Well, her mom found out and couldn't stop laughing. She thought it was hilarious, so she told my mom, who did not think it was hilarious, until she saw that somehow, little 45-pounds me had managed to eat 2% of my total body weight in bacon, and showed no signs of ill effects. I did get lectured on not eating that much bacon ever again though. So of course, when said babysitter made me a pound of bacon another time, I shared it with another kid they were also babysitting. He was a year younger than me, but between the two of us we managed to polish it all off again. We were not served bacon in vast quantities at that house again. I'm still friends with them to this day, and they still bring it up from time to time. Bacon, yeah, a heresy, I know. Local sandwich shop had a mix-your-own salad thing when I went to college. Me and a friend bought the biggest box and filled it with bacon, proceeded to eat it over the next hour. The human body isn't meant for that much salt. You also end up being the reason there's a sign with bacon restriction rules at the shop, and having to explain that to your peers. It's the fiber. Most people eating the standard Western diet get a pitiful amount of fiber, so their gut bacteria aren't up to the challenge when you dump a 5-bean chili into it. But if you eat beans regularly, your gut will catch up and you'll have no issues. This is a super common complaint when people give a plant-based diet a try, making a drastic increase in beans, plants, legumes, etc. makes for a few weeks of bloating and farts. Once your body is capable of processing it though, you're golden regardless of how much fiber you eat. I do not like beans or eat them regularly, but on the rare occasions I do eat them. They don't give me trouble. I've seen the same thing said about things I do eat regularly though. Oh my god, you can't eat raw vegetables. You can't digest them. They'll give you a tummy ache. So I think there are a lot of people out here eating nothing but meat and grain products who simply aren't used to fiber. You'll probably never do that again, but for others drinking that much coconut water at once can be dangerous. It's high in potassium, and if your kidneys are unable to process out enough of it, then you can end up with toxic levels of it in your blood, which requires immediate medical attention. If you haven't tried it, and if you can find them, buy some fresh young coconuts and open them yourself. You can do it fairly easily with a good cleaver and a confident chop, but you'll never go back to the packaged juice. There's just no comparison, but coconut juice is known to give you the runs if you drink too much, so please control your urge to drink more than 1 coconut's worth a day, lol. Anything with raw coconut or coconut juice in it. Coconut is one of my favorite flavors, and I absolutely love those coconut waters. One day my wife brought home a 6-pack of the large 32 ounces ones at the grocery store. I couldn't help myself. I drank them all in one afternoon. I could have competed with SpaceX that night. Haha, my son used to beg every year for a Cadbury egg as soon as the commercials started. I would tell him, "You don't like them, remember?" "Oh, but I do, Mom." So we would get one, then he would open it and take a bite and cry, and I would say, "What's wrong?" And he would say, "I don't like the Cadbury egg," for like 5 years in a row. Lol, I still buy him a Cadbury egg for Easter. He's 38. So, I started collecting plush Peep toys on a lark because they are cute. I don't super love the candy, just the shape. Well, this lead people in my family to believe that I am super in love with Peeps, and so I started to get tons of packages of them, and some plus toys and other stuff which I liked. One year one got like a dozen packages of Peeps candy. I did try to eat some but blarg. Now when they do the limited edition flavors, cool, I will try some, but the regular ones are a big no. Half cup fish sauce, 3/4 cup sugar, desired amount of chilies, couple garlic cloves, splash of hot water to dissolve sugar. For the glaze I do the same thing but had juice from a whole lime. Fry wings, reduce glaze, then I add fried garlic, cilantro and fresh limes at plating. Eating too much wasabi is like a rite of passage. Those who know are always too slow to stop someone from lighting their sinuses on fire. I had been at Shogun's for my birthday and there was a prom dinner party there. It was loud but you could still hear one guy say, "What's this green stuff?" The room went quiet before the kid realizes his mistake. The room erupted in laughter as he drank his drink, his date's drink and one of his friend's drinks. P.S. If you eat sushi, some places use wasabi like glue to hold the cut of fish to the rice, meaning that sometimes you'll get a hot roll. This my sister's autoimmune disorder causes her to react terribly to capsaicin. Essentially a bell pepper tastes like a jalapeno to her and anything else causes her tongue to swell to twice its size. But she can eat her weight in wasabi so she drizzles her tacos in wasabi mayo. Smile. My Thai wife can use hot sauce like water. We went to Shogun's, one of those sit around the grill cooking show places. Appetizer of tuna sashimi. She reaches out with her chopsticks and pops the entire piece of wasabi, about the size of my thumb, in her mouth and swallows. I was too slow to stop her. I watched and her eyes went wide and she started to vibrate. Whole body vibrations. She started gasping and squeaked out, "Take me home." I threw a bunch of money down and we hauled ass home. She basically stayed in the bathroom for 2 days and every time she had the shits I'd hear the slow moaning sound. I laughed my ass off. I was reading once about the video game Tetris. It said the Russian creator Alexei Pajitnov got famous and was able to do some world traveling, but he was a little sheltered when it came to other countries. Supposedly, the first time he was in a Japanese restaurant, he thought a bowl of wasabi was some type of custard, so he took a big spoonful and swallowed it before they could stop him. He felt like he was going to die while the rest of the table was laughing. Edit, found a reference. https://www.filfer.net/tag/Pajitnov/. The atmosphere was warmer that evening when Rogers, still playing the role of chaperone and tour guide, located the only sushi restaurant in Moscow until Karakava, Lincoln, Pajitnov, and Nintendo's legal consultant John Hus out for dinner there. Pajitnov was skeptical of the notion of eating raw fish, but soon got with the program, at least until he popped an entire ball of wasabi into his mouth just ahead of his companion's urgent warning cries, nearly causing his head to explode. It's all sugar alcohols. Because the body can't metabolize them, they end up passing into the GI tract and are osmotically active, that is, it pulls water from the intestines, which causes very watery feces. Pretty much most sugar-free candies/mints/gum has a sugar alcohol, for example sorbitol, mannitol, and some supplements are straight sugar alcohols, for example myoinsitol. Sugar-free drinks often use different sweeteners, for example aspartame, which doesn't cause the laxative effect. However, if you're trying to avoid the effect, limit the amount of food that have sugar alcohols. Similar, cinnamon. At home we often had milky rice, basically sticky rice cooked in milk, which you serve sprinkled with sugar and cinnamon. So the brain of 4-year-old Mammoth was like, if this little bit of cinnamon already tastes so great, a spoonful must be heaven. And before my parents could stop me, I proceeded to verify, and thereby disprove, my thesis. So basically I invented the cinnamon challenge back in the 80s. I worked in a small kitchen that used a lot of infused truffle oil. We were getting a shipment in, and there was a case of truffle oil that needed to be brought to our dry storage area, and our very own in-house Kevin, I'm actually pretty sure he's that Kevin, decided to drop the whole thing on the cement floor, and every bottle broke. Kevin probably got about a cup of oil in each shoe, and wreaked to high heaven. Chef was pissed anyway, and made him take a prep table outside so he wouldn't stink up the rest of the kitchen. I got a new job about 9 months after that incident, and no joke, you could still smell Kevin before he even got to the kitchen 9 months later because he refused to buy new work shoes. I've got some fun Kevin stories.